Did you join your audio?
So it's there for when you're ready.
Okay.
You just want to leave it there until it's time,
Or what?
or you can just go off of it and do other things. But then you'd have to go back to Zoom. But it'll be there. Just don't close out of the app.
Okay. Guess I better go comb my hair, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Looks a little crazy.
Thank you, Rosalie. Watch this.
What? Wow.
Oh, this is it.
You're doing so good. Look at you, Grandpa.
Doesn't look very pretty, but I'm doing it.
You are.
Get 250,000 miles.
But I have you, if I
That's because the car looks like a good deal online.
pass along,
That's the burglary.
I'll add if you need it.
The 10 cars earn our highest ratings.
Mr. Anderson? Blaine? Mr. Anderson? Blaine? Blaine,
Blaine, are you on the line?
Blaine, Blaine,
I don't hear anything from the meeting. Does anybody else?
No.
I don't either.
I see Mary up there talking, but I don't hear anything.
I don't either. This is Karen.
This is Sparks. I don't hear it either.
I thought it was just me.
No, not just you this time.
Typical fashion, we're 5 minutes behind already.
I'll try texting Blaine and see if he can get us going here.
Took me a minute to figure out what the heck Mary was wearing.
I know.
Maybe they need to turn it up. I hear something in the background.
I
I
haven't-
wonder if we should all mute too, if that would help.
Still no sound from the meeting.
Amen.
Baldwin County is 1 week in Crestwood and another week in Prospect and all the time in LaGrange, and I've gotten a lot of calls about it. So I'm gonna give you, I think, Ryan, don't you want Michael to stand here?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll stand back here a little bit so I can get this off.
I'm gonna have to improve my lip reading skills.
Me too.
I think Blaine said he was gonna sign back in, so maybe that'll correct it.
Yeah. Hi, Bill.
Hi, how are you?
Well, how are you?
I'm doing well, you know, being COVIDly distant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we can have a meeting with amongst ourselves here.
Yeah, we
guess we
could.
could.
Yeah.
So Stephanie, are your kids back at school or are they at home or what do you?
I've got some of them in school in person, and I've got one home still on NTI.
Okay. Boy, that
Yeah.
must be hard.
Yeah, it's I'm not sure anybody's really learning anything.
Looks like Blaine's back up there, but I don't hear anything again.
Yeah, I wish we could learn something from Mike Adams here.
Yeah, right.
Wonder why it's not working.
Now we hear nothing.
Yeah.
Well, at least we can say hi to each other.
I know.
I sent Blaine another text, but at least we were getting a little feedback a while ago, but I don't hear anything now.
Open the door, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the county clerks. Back in the primary, we let the county clerks design their own plans, and they do a good job. But we had too few voting locations. I took a lot of heat for that. For that matter, the governor did too. So this time, the governor and I both have veto power over our county's plan. The county has to come to us and explain why they need to close locations. I've had about 10 counties come back to us with every single precinct open, every single one. Now, they're not putting machines in the nursing homes. Those are usually precincts too. They're moving those. But they've opened up the same number of precincts that they've had historically. It's about 10. One of them was Campbell County, where I went today. North, south, east, west Kentucky, all over the state, they're opening their locations. We're not going to have every location open in the state. It's just not feasible. A lot of our locations cancel on us. A lot of our locations are private sector owned locations. I can't commandeer those. They've got a contractual right to not renew, and they've got a liability risk if they make these premises available to us. Their insurance doesn't cover COVID-19. It's also been tricky to get poll workers. We've worked really hard for that. I've launched several initiatives over the last couple of months to find poll workers. We've had some success across the state. It's actually not my job to do that. It's your county clerk's job by law, but we're trying to do everything we can to help her. It takes 15,000 poll workers to run an election in Kentucky. My office by itself has recruited 4,500 poll workers. And this really showed a difference. That's how we're able not just to rip at old locations, but also find substitutes for our aging poll workers who perceive themselves to be at risk. So I'm very proud of that. We've seen significant increases in the number of locations across the state. I think you'll be pleased with the plan that ultimately comes out of your clerk's office. Last point, and then if you have any questions or feedback, I'd love to hear. The last thing we changed for November is people want results faster. We voted on June 23rd, so did New York State. New York State took 2 months to count their ballots. We took a week. People don't want to wait a week. I get it. I don't want to wait either. I want this election to be over with as soon as possible. So we're going to count faster. Here's how we're going to do that. Number one, we're going to have proportionately much more of the voting done in person this year instead of absentee. Absentee voting is fine. Donald Trump says that. Mike Pence says that. I say that. That said, all things being equal, we like in-person voting better. We're going to have more of that. Right now, we're on track to have probably 60 to 65% of votes cast in person, not absentee. About 25% were cast absentee. 25% were cast in person in the primary. This time would be 60 to 65% cast in person. It's much quicker to count in-person votes. You push a button and your machine tells you what the totals are. You add up all the machines across the state and there's your results. Historically, Kentucky is either the first or the second state in America to put their points on the board. We voted for Donald Trump, we voted for Romney, John McCain, George W. Bush. We're the first or second state usually in America. We compete with Indiana for that. I think we're going to be first or second again this year because we're going to count faster. Number one, we're going to have more people voting in person proportionally. And number two, we're going to require the clerks to count all their absentee ballots that they've received as of 6 p.m. election day. Last time we gave them a week. Some chose to go ahead and publish, some chose to hold. But this time we require them to go ahead and count those ballots and report those results. We're not going to have all the votes counted on election night. It's not going to be feasible to count every single one. But I think we're going to have 75 or 80% of the votes in and counted on election night and be able to project outcomes in most of our elections and provide finality to the candidates and to, of course, the voters. So we're going to be way ahead of the other states. I'm hearing that Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, all these swing states, they're going to take weeks, maybe even months to count their ballots. I just want to prepare you for this. We're not going to know who the president is on election night. We may not know for a week. We may not know for 2 weeks. It's not our fault. We're all going to know that Donald Trump carried Kentucky comfortably, but we're not going to know who won Pennsylvania or Michigan or Wisconsin or Arizona or some of these states that are more reliant on absentee balloting than we're going to be. So I just want to prepare you for that. Let me give you some statistics that are pretty interesting. The last count I had was a few days ago. We had fewer than 400,000 absentee ballots requested. Yeah. At this point, we had way more than that requested for the primary. So we're actually on track today for fewer absentee ballots to be cast in the general than in the primary, and that's with the general election with 2.5 times the turnout. So again, that proves to me that we're going to have a much more robust in-person turnout for this election. Let me give you a second statistic, and then I'll turn it back over. I've got some good news and some bad news. So here's the good news. Over the summer, we had 21,000 new voters registered to vote in Kentucky. Of those, 20,000 were Republicans. Pretty good, right?
Wow.
21,000. 1,000 were independents. So who can do the math for how many Democrats we had registered in Kentucky? Any guesses?
Yeah, negative.
Negative 1,000. That's right. I was hoping for 0. I was like, no, that's too optimistic for them. Negative 1,000. We had negative 1,000 Democrats register for office. That's because we took dead ones off the rolls and other people switched their parties. Okay, that's the good news. The momentum is with our side. Here's the bad news. The same time period over last summer, we registered 267,000 new voters. That was in a year we had 19% turnout on primary, 42% turnout in the general, in that window between 267,000 new voters. This year we had a 29% turnout. We're going to have about 72% in November. We got to be blowing it out with new Republican registrations, but we're not. It's hard for us to register voters. It's hard for us as you all as an organization to do drives. It's hard for civic groups to do it. It's hard for me to do it. Normally I would go to the state fair for a week and register new voters. Sit there at a booth and talk to people and get them to sign cards. I couldn't do that this year. They closed all those booths and so forth. So it's a big challenge. So the more that you can register people to vote, those are our people. there's a 9 out of 10 chance that a voter who wants to register is an R and D. More than 9 out of 10 chance. So anyone that you can find who's not registered, today is National Voter Registration Day. But any day is a good day to register a voter, right? October 5th is the deadline. October 5th at 4 p.m. is the deadline by statute. I don't get to change that. That's the deadline to register to vote. If you haven't, or you know someone who hasn't. October 9th, pardon?
It's the 5th.
5th, October 5th.
On the news tonight, they said the 9th.
That's the deadline to request an absentee ballot. So to register, it's the 5th. To obtain an absentee ballot, to request an absentee ballot, it's the 9th. The 9th at 11:59 p.m. is the deadline. That's when we take that portal offline. It's when the clerks stop taking requests for absentee ballots. So if you're going to vote that way, or you know someone who is, encourage them to go ahead and get that request. The sooner they get it in, the sooner they'll get their ballot, and the sooner they can return it. The next date to remember is October 13th. That's the first day of in-person voting. We're going to make in-person voting easier than it's ever been before in Kentucky history. We're not just going to have election day with more locations. We're going to have 3 weeks of in-person voting starting Tuesday, October 13th. The polls will be open during regular business hours if you're a clerk. They're also going to be open on Saturdays. We've required all the clerks to have at least a half day on Saturdays. Some are doing half a day, some are doing more, but at least a half day on a Saturday. This is no excuse required, no appointment required early voting. It's just like election day. You show up with your photo ID and you vote. It's the same process on October 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th that it is on November 3rd, except the lines will be shorter. So go vote early if you can. If you made up your mind, like I have, I know who I'm going to vote for. You probably do too. Go ahead and vote. Go ahead and bank it. The sooner we get this done, the shorter lines we're going to have on November 3rd, the fewer people who are voting in person, by the way, being Republican, the less they're going to have to wait, the sooner they're going to be able to get in and get out and get their votes counted. It's beneficial to us. So October 13th is the first day of in-person voting. That runs 6 days a week until, of course, November 3rd. That's election day. 6 to 6, those are the hours of the state constitution. Again, we're going to have more locations for that. Your county clerk will have information on all those specific locations. There are 4 ways to vote. Last point, I promise. 4 ways to vote. You can vote in person on November 3rd. Again, more locations will be open. You can vote in person before November 3rd. Again, we're going to have early voting available in all 120 counties. You can vote absentee ballot by drop box. That's how I voted in the primary. I voted absentee, but I also didn't want to mail it. I wanted to hand deliver that to the clerk. That's how you know the clerk got the ballot. This is basically a hybrid of in-person voting and absentee. You don't have to stand in line. You just drive up, or you come into the clerk's office and you drop the ballot in the drop box. It's just like dropping it off on election day. That's the 3rd way to vote, is dropping it off in the drop box. Of course, the 4th way is you can mail it back if you choose. We're paying for your postage. These absentee ballots are, again, this has been in our Constitution for 75 years. All the protocols that we have to ensure against any fraud or attack. We've added new ones this year that are unprecedented to ensure we have a fair election. We're going to have a fair election in November, just like we did in our primary, that I'm so proud of. So thanks again for your attention. It's great to see you, and we have some questions.
I have a friend that has cancer and she has ordered her ballot, but she asked me today if she could go and take it to the polls. Would not drop off like you're saying, but trade it in to do it in person. Is that a possibility?
Well, it's not ideal. So here's the problem. Our clerks are under immense strain, and when they process a ballot one way, they mark off the rolls that you're now ineligible because you've already requested a ballot. Then they have to do paperwork to cancel the absentee ballot. So that's 2 levels of paperwork that they shouldn't have to be doing what they're trying to do, all that they're trying to do in this very difficult time. It just adds inconvenience and paperwork for the voter and for the clerk. What I really want to avoid is long lines at election sites, people changing their mind about where they're going to vote. Just make a decision.
Yeah.
That's what voting is. It's being an adult making a decision.
Yeah, she wasn't sure. She's already ordered it,
Yeah.
but she's feeling better and wanted to go and vote. So handing it in is about the same thing at a post office.
Yeah. I mean, the best way for someone to handle that situation is fill out that ballot and drop it off in the drop box. If they want to have the personal satisfaction of dropping their vote in the bin and not trusting the postal service, that's the best outcome. I am trying to find ways to avoid more labor for our clerks.
Sure.
They're really strained. I really want to encourage people to make a plan. You've got 4 options to vote. You've never had that in your life. Pick one and just stick with it. if you can. Now, if you don't get your absentee ballot, of course, you can still vote in person. You can fill out that paperwork, and then we'll cancel your absentee ballot request, and then you show up, and you're all set.
Gotcha.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question. Okay, so it used to be when you would go vote, you would show them your ID, they go through your page, you sign right there. Okay, now the way it is, they scan your driver's license, right? What other data is part of that scanning on your driver's license? Do you know?
All it does is scan it's your license, and then whatever's on your license is available. But all we want to do is verify your identity. We don't use the other information. We don't retain it. It's irrelevant to us. We just want to check your identity. Okay, let me make a quick point about this. The question I get all the time now is about double voting. Can you vote twice? Well, number one, you legally can't. It's a felony. We'll put you in prison if you try. Someone did allegedly try in Owensboro in the spring. We pursued that individual. We took the individual to the grand jury. The jury came back with no indictment. They concluded this individual made an honest mistake. But that guy had a real bad few months, thinking he was going to prison. Don't try to vote twice. However, people do ask, okay, well, what's to stop that? How do you prevent that? The reason they ask this question is usually you vote in your precinct. Well, now we're doing a different model where there's kind of super precincts, right? There are vote centers. How do you make sure someone doesn't show up at two different ones and vote? Well, the answer is technology. Our precinct-based system is based at a time when people just signed written logs. By the time you would check your written log here and your written log there and compare them and realize someone voted twice, the election was over. You can never undo that vote. You would have to basically just indict that person after the fact, but you couldn't prevent it ahead of time. But now you can through technology. Because we're using these e-poll books and we're scanning driver's licenses, we know in real time that someone has voted. If you vote in Crestwood, we know it immediately in LaGrange, and you can't show up in LaGrange and vote. So this is the use of technology to both increase the convenience of the voter, but also ensure that they don't take it too far and vote twice. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you know about the card. I was wondering, I got this card in the mail telling my wife that she's probably not registered to vote. She should go vote. My wife's Japanese. She's a Japanese citizen, so she shouldn't be on there at all. But my question is, how did they pull her name and find out that she may not be registered to vote? They went through the driver's licenses, right? Why can't you guys do that to clean up the rolls?
Well, that's what we're doing in part. We're not able to use the driver's licenses because those addresses frequently are not up to date. There are provisions in the law for what we're allowed to do and not do when we clean up the rolls.
Yeah. But so, I mean, are you guys you said you were somebody was taking care of it.
Well, I can't take care of it because I did this in the postcard. Unfortunately, there's a lot of groups out there that are sending out mailers. I did a scam alert last week on one of these with the Attorney General. There's a group called the Center for Voter Information. They've attempted to register people's pets. They've attempted to register people's children. They've sent mailers to people who are already registered, which prompts them to try to register again. If you get a mailer that's not from me, throw the garbage, please.
So this one says it's from the Board of Elections.
Right, it's from the State Board of Elections. It's not from me. That's from Ben Chandler. It's not from me.
I got two from New York today.
Yeah, they're from New York or all over the place.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do is listen to your county clerk or your chief election official.
Are the Democrats still voting on November 5th?
They're voting now. They are. If you've seen this, statistically, of the requests for absentee ballots, 60% of those are from registered Democrats, 26% of those are from registered Republicans. Now, that doesn't mean that they're all going to vote for Amy McGrath or Joe Biden. A lot of Democrats vote for Republicans. But the fact is, they have roughly a 2-1 advantage over Republicans in requesting these ballots. We got to do a better job on our side. I know that the McConnell campaign and the state party are doing a lot of work to try to encourage people who need these ballots to go ahead and apply. I get texted all the time from Team Mitch and RBK, hey, you asked for absentee ballot. That's fine. I'm not going to vote absentee. I'll need to. But for people who need that, it's there for them to take advantage of it.
I think the follow-up on that is, can we request from the county clerk a list of people that have requested a ballot that has not had it turned in?
Well, so it's an interesting question. One of the things that we changed this year in the agreement, the governor and I didn't negotiate this, it was done by the Board of Elections, but we both were okay with it. Imagine running for office. Is anyone here running for office? I know Rhonda is, obviously. Oh, there's one too. You all can speak to this better than I can. Imagine running for office right now. Imagine how hard that is. If I had tried to run in this environment last year, I'd be toast. How do you reach voters? How do you raise money? I can't imagine running in this environment. So one thing that we did to help the candidates, the parties, to be fair to them, to give them less of a disadvantage in this environment is we suspended the open records provision. There's an exclusion in the law, in the absentee ballot statute that says that notwithstanding the Open Records Act, who's requested an absentee ballot, who's cast the absentee ballot, that's all secret. Even though it's a public record, we're gonna keep it secret. We suspended that through emergency powers. We suspended that. So now it's an open record. It's transparent. That allows the candidates to find out who's asked for a ballot and who of those people have not returned it, and who has returned it. That helps you all target your audience as you're campaigning. It helps you figure out who's already voted so you don't nag them and waste your time or their time. So that's something we try to give back to the candidates and the parties out of fairness to help them target better, since they have less ability to reach people directly.
How do you do that again?
The State Board of Elections, they will make this available to you upon request.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you bet.
To that, and that's to the candidates or elected.
Blame the party has it. Yeah, I got alcohol 250 of them today.
Yeah.
You can, the party will just give it to you probably. You don't even have to pay them for it. Pay the party or the board, I don't think. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's free.
I can get you, I'll send you all of the kinds tonight. It's for the
Well, key is you have it. And we'll help.
I'll make sure.
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
That's great.
When is the last day for absentee ballots to be received by the county clerk? And what's the date they have to be counted by?
So the date that they have to be returned by the voter, the deadline is the 3rd of November. It's election day, but they have to postmark. I don't know about you, a lot of mail that I get is not postmarked. So the safest way to make sure your ballot counts is to get it in well in advance of the deadline. If it lands on election day, whether it's postmarked or not, they count it. That's the law. If it's postmarked election day and it's received within 3 days by the county clerk, Friday the 6th of November, then they'll count it. But it's got to be postmarked and it's got to be received in 3 days. I can't tell you that I'm confident the Postal Service is going to postmark every ballot, or that they're only going to take 3 days to bring it back to the clerk. Maybe, I hope so, but I don't know. So the best thing you can do for an absentee voter is encourage them, go ahead and vote Republican and get that back promptly.
And so is there a date when we'll know if we won or not?
Well, I think we're going to know.
Format,
Yeah,
right?
I think we're going to know on election night the vast majority of the races. The ones that are not close, we're going to know. The ones that are close, we may not know. Some races you can project based on this part of the county you voted, and we know how they're going to vote, and then we're going to go to part of the county, and the margin is X. Project. Usually, an outcome, the Associated Press will project outcomes based on 80% of the vote or less, unless the race is very, very close. It's very, very close. Then it will take up to 3 more days as we count the rest of the ballots that come in and we'll postmark on the 3rd or 4th. So I think we're going to know the week of the election every single race.
Hopefully we got a lot of upset people in Jefferson County.
Yeah. Now, by law, people are entitled to ask me for a recount. They have until the week after the election to recanvass. So we don't certify hard returns, final returns until we do any recanvasses. So if you have very close races, obviously we're not going to do one of those until we get a recanvass done. So we never actually know on election night who won every race. It's never happened. We know most of them. We'll know most of them this time.
Is there anything on the mail-in ballots that indicates party affiliation on the outside?
No, there's not.
Excuse me.
In 1 second. In the primary, there was, because as the county clerks are putting the ballots in the envelopes, there are Democratic primary ballots and Republican primary ballots, and they're different, right? So they had separate stacks and separate tags, so they didn't put the wrong ballot in the wrong envelope. But there's no reason for that in November, because the ballots are all the same. They're based on where you live, not based on your party.
Thanks, that answers my question, because ours are labeled Republican. We thought that was gonna happen. Thank you.
So what about the cured ballots? That's supposed to be the 9th, but they have until the 9th to count the cured ballots.
Well, the voter has until the 9th to cure them, but a vote that is, can I explain the cure real fast,
Yeah.
everybody? So here's some things that we did to account for the fact that we have more absentee ballots. In a typical election in Kentucky, 2% vote absentee, 98% vote in a 12-hour span on one day. It's been that way the whole time I've been in politics, 27 years. This year's different. In 2018, 8% of absentee votes were thrown out because of voter error. The voter didn't sign, the voter's signature didn't match, the voter didn't seal the envelope, whatever kind of, people make mistakes. They make mistakes when they vote in person too, but they can catch those more easily and they can get a new ballot more easily than if they return this in a drop box or mailing it. We had about 5% of votes thrown out in the primary versus 8% in the last cycle. So that's a big drop. But of course, it was 5% of a much bigger number, right? So you had some, I think you had a total of 30,000 ballots statewide that were not counted out of 1 million plus because of voter error. Some county clerks reached out to voters that made errors, and some county clerks didn't. We required the county clerk to reach out if there were a signature mismatch. If the signature on the ballot envelope didn't match the signature of the voter registration card or the driver's license. We did that for 2 reasons. One is to ensure fairness and not disenfranchise anybody. The other reason is I want to catch people who are cheating. I want to find out if voters want to come back and sign again. And if they're not, then I turn that over to my ballot integrity task force to take a look and ensure we don't have any vote fraud. But what we didn't do that we should have done in the primary is require the clerks to reach out to the voter regardless of the type of error. So signature mismatch, okay, we got that. But voters commit all kinds of errors. And we didn't require the clerks to reach out. Some did, some voluntarily reached out, and others just said, forget it, we're just gonna throw these in garbage. So this time we have a cure process that's universal, you have to do it. If the voter didn't sign, you gotta call the voter. If the voter didn't seal the envelope, you gotta call the voter. And by the way, there's no partisan advantage or disadvantage here. Republicans make the same number of mistakes as Democrats. It's just, what leads to it is people aren't familiar with a different way of voting they haven't tried before. Or it's a higher turnout year and you have people coming out of the woodwork who've never voted before or haven't in a long time. So you gotta have a process in place. So Mary's question was, well, how does this counting work? Most of the ballots will be received before the election, those votes will be contacted immediately. So they will actually be able to cure their ballot before election. So we're not gonna have to wait for a week for 50,000 ballots to be cured. They're gonna be cured on a rolling basis. Very few of those will take until after the election. We're giving people until the Monday after the election to cure them. But unless we have a race that is extremely close and within recount range, it's not gonna make a tangible difference there.
But they will be counted even after the 9th. It said they had till the 9th.
They have, this is for the final certification.
Right.
So unless the race is so close within 2, 3, or 4 votes, we're gonna go ahead and project an outcome. You're gonna have so to give you an example, last time in the primary, we gave until Saturday for ballots to come in. I think we had like 100 ballots statewide on Saturday. It was hardly any. And then on the Monday following, we had no one try to cure. Everything had been cured already. So even though we've got that as a deadline, normally it takes a week for us to count the votes anyway. Normally I don't certify until after the recanvass. So the bottom line is we're not losing any time. Because by law, the candidates have 9 days for a recanvass. We're giving voters 6 days to cure. So we don't actually lose any time finalizing the election because that's still within the recanvass request period anyway. Does that make sense?
The absentee ballots, are they put into a machine to count or does a human being count?
No, they're Scantron ballots. They're run through a machine just like every other paper ballot. Let me tag on to that with a comment. One of my goals, I didn't run on it per se, but I talked about it a lot, is I wanted to move Kentucky toward paper ballots. One thing I found that people across both sides of the aisle like is paper ballots. I found that a lot of liberal Democrats thought that Russia stole the election by tampering with machines. That's lunacy, but they think that. A lot of Republicans thought that the governor had the election stolen, or at least, in fact, Governor Bevin actually won, but the machines malfunctioned, and people don't trust electronic machines. They're okay, but I'd like paper ballots better. Here's why, because I'm an election attorney, and I do recounts. And you can't do a real recount when you don't have a paper trail. What are you supposed to count? All you do is push the button on the machine, and it says the same thing it already said. You can't actually do a recount. We had Jason can tell you more about this. We had a race for State House in Owensboro. It came down to literally a tie. And we couldn't do a real recount because they didn't use exclusively paper ballots. They used machines in some of their locations. So I want us to move to 100% paper ballots over the course of my tenure in office. We're actually almost there. We use federal funds, stimulus funds, to buy new equipment for our counties. We did this so they could process absentee ballots, but the upside of this is it's a permanent investment. These machines last for a decade or more. They could use those now to pivot at lower cost to paper balloting going forward. In person, obviously, but paper balloting going forward. That's real progress. It's a real silver lining to all of this that we're going through right now with this changes in the election is we're on track to now become a paper ballot state.
I have a question. I've been told that the post office in real time can recognize a ballot to a person that's already had a death certificate. Is that accurate?
I don't know of any capacity they have for that. They don't have any sort of, they don't get any sort of automatic update from the Bureau of Vital Statistics that I'm aware of. I don't know how they would have that information. I don't know there's a basis. Yeah. Anybody else?
So the absentee ballots are being counted as that kind of.
Yeah, they will be processed as they're returned. The reason is we don't want to wait a month like other states. They're on a rolling basis, but they're not counted. That's the key. They're opened up. So you all know how an absentee ballot works. Can I just tell you real fast? All right. I wish I had one with me, but I don't just walk around with ballots, right? That would be bad form. Okay, so you got an outer envelope. It's you're mailed an envelope, and inside your envelope there's two more envelopes: an inner envelope and an outer envelope. And inside of that there's a ballot. And I can't tell whose ballot is whose. They're not marked, don't have your name on them or a code or anything else. It's just a ballot. You fill out that ballot, you put that ballot into the inner envelope. It's got a label on it with your name. You sign on a blank there, and we require the clerks to take a highlighter on every single one of these. Take a highlighter and mark that blank so you know where to sign. You sign that, and then you seal that envelope, and there's a detachable flap. I'll talk about that in a second. You put that inner envelope into the outer envelope. You seal that, you sign that envelope too, and then you put it in the drop box or you mail it back. So here's what happens on the clerk's end. They get that ballot in the mail, they open it up. So there's an outer envelope with your signature on it. They open that up, they pull out the inner envelope with your signature on it. They check your signature, both of the two that you gave them on your envelopes. They check your signature against your driver's license and against your voter registration card. If they don't think it's you, then they give you a call and they expect you to report to the clerk's office to make sure that it's you. But most times it matches. So then they tear off that flap and they throw away the outer envelope and they throw away that flap. They discard them, throw them in the garbage. They take your ballot and they drop it in the bin. And your ballot gets mixed in with tens of thousands of other ballots. There's no marking on that envelope once that flap is torn off to discern your ballot versus somebody else's ballot. And then someone else comes to that box. It's not one person, it's a committee of 4 people at minimum. They collectively watch as that box is opened. They take all these sealed envelopes, they tear them open and run that Scantron ballot through the machine over and over and over again 1,000 times a day, if necessary. That way you've got Democrats and Republicans monitoring. You've got Democrats and Republicans running these through the machines. No one ever knows who you voted for. That's one question I got a lot in the primary is, how is this a secret ballot? It's done by mail. Well, because you're signing a detachable flap on envelope that's discarded when they get your ballot. This has been our law for decades. I've been voting absentee since my first election in 1994. I grew up in Paducah. I moved to Louisville to go to college. I've been doing this for 26 years, so I'm comfortable with it. I know a lot of people haven't done it before. But the same protocols that were intact in 1994 when I first voted are still used today. And again, this has been our Constitution for 75 years. So we've got well-trained clerks who know what they're doing. They've been doing this their whole careers. We've got an intact election system with, fortunately, no fraud.
You said there'll be Democrat and Republican there. So the county clerk's employees will be putting up the mail-in votes.
No.
Will there be challenges?
So number one, if any challenges are welcome, that's a right in our law. We're going to present challenges. Usually what they do is because of the need to keep room capacity limited, they usually put in a video camera and let the challengers watch from outside. Back in the primary, the Grant and the Booker people had lawyers at like every clerk's office watching all these cameras. But it's not just random employees at the clerk's office that are doing this. It's ballot processing committees, which we require to have an equal number of Republicans and Democrats. It's not just the patronage people in the clerk's office. These are people that you all, as a party, have help recruit to the clerk. We need poll workers. We also need ballot processing committees. They have to be split equally between Democrats and Republicans, just like poll workers.
We have a question from one of our Zoomers.
Okay.
What other forms of ID are allowed besides a driver's license? There are some IDs that are not scannable, correct? Are there firewalls in place in these cases?
So thank you. I'll go through Senate Bill 2 real fast. So here are the permissible forms of photo ID. Any federal government issued ID, any state government issued ID, any local government issued ID, if they have a photograph. The question I get a lot is also any college ID. It can be a private college or a public college. Those are the 4 permissible types of photo ID. People ask me, what if my license is expired? What if I haven't driven in a while? It doesn't matter. We don't care if you can drive, we just care if you can prove your identity. That's all we care about. So any government issued, whether it's federal, state, or local, or any college issued, if it's a photo ID, that's permissible. Now, if you don't have a photo ID and you cannot get one because of COVID, either your local office is closed or you aren't comfortable going out. You can't ask people who aren't comfortable going out to vote to go out to get an ID. So to keep this law from being struck down, we did allow for certain people to vote with an approved non-photo ID. This is still more strict than the law that was on the books when I was sworn into office, which allowed people to use bank statements and utility bills to vote. That's crazy. So we don't allow that anymore, but we will allow government issued cards like benefit cards and so forth. We'll also allow credit cards. That's only if you cannot get a photo ID. And if you can't, you have to sign an oath that says, I tried, I couldn't do it. You have to sign that oath and it goes to the grand jury. So the grand jury is going to be able to review who voted without a photo ID. Yes, ma'am.
I have Jefferson County friends who want more polling places.
Me too. So, yeah. So their plan has not been produced to me yet for review.
Okay, they haven't been approved.
They certainly haven't been approved.
Right.
So I've approved about 75 out of 120 plans. I've yet to receive about, I don't know, maybe 40 plans. I've got about 5 more on my desk I'm poking at. Hardin County isn't sufficient. They want just 3. That's not enough. I'll do that for. So I've got a few that I'm working with to try to improve. I've not got Jefferson's yet. Obviously, I read the newspaper. I saw what they said, but that was a press conference. It wasn't a plan. They haven't sent it to me yet.
May I speak to that?
Sure.
I met with Jennifer from the Jefferson County Republican Party, and she said the problem is not that they don't want more polling places, but everywhere they call, people reject them. Even Southeast Christian wouldn't allow them to poll at that location. So
That's not true. All the Jefferson County schools offer their schools, middle schools and high schools.
I knew they could.
Polio said that we could.
She gave us that. She gave us that excuse.
We were at the press conference. Yeah, that's bogus.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm not going to veto a plan I haven't received. I'm going to work with Bobby Holzwall in a cooperative way behind the scenes, not embarrass her more than I need to, but 8 is not enough. For a county of 625,000 registered voters, 8 is not enough. We're going to have more locations. I'm going to have to work with her to find out what the issues are, what high schools are available, how many workers we have, and so forth. So I can't tell you today how many we're going to have. I don't know. I want to try to get it done this week if I can, but it won't be 8.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll tell my friends.
Please do.
That's the issue is I'm getting feedback from voters saying, I can't go here. I've been going to this high school for the last 20 years. Now they want me to go to the Fair and Exposition Center, which is 10 miles away, and I don't drive. So what am I going to do? And that's the big complaint is having access to vote. Having the ballot's good, but if you want to vote in person like most people do, this is the solution. You got to have a place to do it at.
Oh my.
I saw a poll last week. Y'all probably saw it too. There was a poll, Quinnipiac, a reliable pollster. They polled the presidential race in Kentucky. It was 58 to 38 Trump. They polled the Senate race. It was 53 to 41 McGrath. They also polled Howard. I'm sorry, but I said yeah, sorry. You did right. Yeah, it matters. Details matter. McConnell up 12. But they also tested this. They asked people, how do you plan to vote? 13% said they plan to vote in person early. I think it was a quarter that said they plan to vote absentee. 56% said they plan to vote on the last day, November 3rd. Right. If that happens, and there's 8 locations in Jefferson, we're going to have a major malfunction.
Oh, And I couldn't get the police out to direct traffic. I called them.
Yeah, that's it.
Secretary Adams, I want to say, you've taken a lot of heat. I'm one of the guys who's running, and so there's a lot of angst in my life right now. My father and I and my friends have been out putting a bunch of signs up. I know how difficult these decisions must have been for you. I don't agree with every single one of them, but I know that you're trying to get it right. So in front of all my friends in Oldham County, thank you. I want to commend you for that. I take issue with a few things, but I think on whole, your efforts are what's best for Kentuckians, and so I thank you for that. And I also would like to implore you to, once again, we've talked a number of times, aid is monstrously low, and it's just not enough in Jefferson County. And Oldham County has a good plan. Julie Barr and our Board of Elections here has done a really good job of trying to educate it. They've got a plan to send out a bunch of cards to our voters to educate them on when and where and all that. And so I think Oldham's plan is good and Jefferson plan is bad. But I wanted to say something in front of our friends in Oldham County community for, I know you put a lot of hard work in and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Jason, Representative Nina sponsored an easy to vote bill back before the pandemic, where we did the parts of this that everyone likes, letting people be poll workers more easily, expanding voting hours and so forth, things that Republicans and Democrats both like. That's something that Representative Nevis led on before there was ever a pandemic. So he's been a great friend to me, certainly in Frankfurt. We're not going to have 8 locations in Jefferson County. Just not. We're not going to have 6 in Fayette either. We're not going to have 3 in Marvin. We're going to have to send these plans back and have them done and improve.
Has you sort of intimated that to those counties? I mean,
I talked to
Okay.
Bobby Holtzclaw on Thursday, and I said,
right.
Send this to me as soon as possible so I kick the tires. I want to understand what your throughput is and why you really think you can handle 500,000 voters in a day on with 8 sites. That doesn't sound right. So show me the money.
What if she doesn't?
Well, if she doesn't, then by law she has to open up every single location in the county. That's the leverage I have, is because by law she has to get permission to reduce. If she doesn't get approval for the plan to reduce, then the default is open up every single precinct. Now, to be fair, that's not possible.
Yeah.
You have nursing homes in the precincts. We're not going to do that. But I'm trying to use that leverage, and I'm being a nice guy about it. I'm going to try to be nice with her, work with her, instead of just issuing a veto.
Yeah.
But I have that leverage, fortunately.
Because we're next door to the clerk's office on Westport Road. Their line stretches down the shopping center all the way. I mean, it's pretty deep. They can't handle doing the in-person. Right. I mean, they can't even handle their redoing the plates right now. So.
What is the amount of people that an average polling place could handle in one day?
It just depends. The facilities are different.
Right.
In Anderson County, they're using, actually happenstance, they happen to have old bank buildings that are their government offices. So they're doing drive-through voting. And they can process a lot of people real fast. In Hopkins County, they're doing, it's like a taco truck, they're doing mobile booking units. So they show up at different locations, different times, which they advertise them. Every county is different. It depends on the structure. Like this would not be a good location, right? There's not much ventilation. There's not much way to space people apart. It just depends on the location. They're all different.
This is one of our regular polling places.
Well, it's great for a non-pandemic time, but it's not good for this year.
Oh, they're doing it this year.
Are they?
For 1 week.
Okay. This room by itself?
I'm not
It's
sure.
this early voting room. Julie's office is right next door. It's both of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm saying this room by itself would be a good
they're probably
location.
gonna use it.
Well, they might use it in conjunction with something else.
Right.
So in the last election, the previous governor won 98 of 120 counties. You know, it's disenfranchising, in my opinion, to voters in the rural counties and the other counties to know that 3 or 4 counties are really going to make the decision as to who wins any election. Do you think we'll get to a point where we're using like a electoral college type system? You know, 120 counties, why not have whatever?
No, there's actually a U.S. Supreme Court case on that saying that we can't do that from 1964.
We've got a new court.
On that case. Any other questions?
Do you ever foresee a national voter ID?
No. Not a chance.
What did, oh,
No, Nancy Pelosi actually has a bill to ban us from voluntarily requiring a photo ID. True story. Nancy Pelosi's first bill in Congress when she became Speaker last year, HR 1. This is how, Jason can tell you this, and so could Mike. The way that the legislature shows what their top priority is they say this is SB1, right? This is HB1. What was Nancy Pelosi's HR 1? It was the We the People Act. What did it do? It did 4 things. It prohibited states from requiring a photo ID to vote. Prohibited. It prohibited the states from cleaning up their voter rolls. Prohibited. It automatically registered everyone to vote within a government database. Well, guess what? You got lots of people in government databases who aren't citizens, let alone eligible to vote. The 4th thing was every person who got registered automatically by law would be mailed a ballot automatically. That's what Nancy Pelosi wants to pass. And that's what John Dartmouth, I presume, supports, is that they want to take over our elections. That's terrible. That's the kind of policy that we're going to get passed if we have a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, and a Democratic President. They're already putting back to court if we follow the Constitution and confirm a justice. Think of what they'll do on the other stuff too. They'll change the laws so they have an advantage. They'll add several Democratic territories and make them into states. They're going to change everything about our country. It's terrifying.
this is kind of since you brought it up, my question is how can they increase the number of Supreme Court justices just because they vote to do it?
Because the Constitution doesn't set the number. It's a
Oh, it
statute.
doesn't?
Yeah, it
Okay.
hasn't always been 9.
Oh, okay.
It's fluctuated, but it hasn't fluctuated since maybe the mid-19th century.
Okay.
It's been said. And FDR tried to pack it and they wouldn't do it.
So would that be just the Senate and the President, or Senate?
It would be
House?
legislation. It would be the House, Senate, and the President.
Okay. The Senate, the House, and the President.
All 3. It would just be, I can hear the bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll have it.
Aren't y'all making me nervous?
Yeah. Let me inspire you to get the vote out. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
This, people like me, we always say, oh, this is the most important election in our history. I probably said that last year for Secretary of State. Oh, this is the most important election. This actually is, guys. This is for all the markets. They want to take it all away. We had the most successful economy we've had in 50 years. They want to take everything away. They want to take away our rights. They want to take away our economy. It's terrifying. We cannot lose this election.
Can I ask one last question
Yeah.
here? You have to request your ballot by October 9th. Have you had any pushback from some of our candidates that says, man, there's going to be people, just like in the primary, you could get one until a week before, right? You could request a ballot up to a week before.
Back then, yeah.
Now it's 3+ weeks.
Right.
Did anyone push back on that, saying all of a sudden people are going to say, what do you mean? The portal's closed and I can't request anymore?
Not really. The clerks were worried that they would not be able to have in-person voting if they also do absentee at the same time. In their defense, they're right. Back in the primary, this wasn't by design, but it's just the reality. They had to do the absentee and the early voting at the same time because there was so little time. The governor and I reached an agreement in late April. It took a month to build the portal for absentee voting, for absentee voters to request a ballot. That meant we only had about a month between that opening and then the election. We kept the portal open for 3 weeks. And during that 3-week span, the clerks were juggling the taxes and all the other stuff the clerks had to do. And then we closed the portal 8 days before the election, but we had already had early voting going on for over a week. So while they were digging out for the absentee ballots, they were also doing early voting. It wasn't by design, it was just, we had to do everything all at once. This time, they don't have to walk and shoot them at the same time. This is done in phases. They can do the absentee part first, get off their table, and then open up the polls.
But we'll know on election night how many absentee ballots have been requested, how many have been cast. So if there's a wide number, if there's tens of thousands that have still not come in, that might swing an election, right?
Sure.
But otherwise, we would hope with a 3+ week lead time, most of those ballots would have come in unless they just aren't going to cast them.
Yeah, you're right. That number might be a little misleading for this reason. Some people get a ballot and then they just never cast it. We actually had a lot of that in our primary. The Democrats had pretty high turnout. They asked for a ballot, they voted it. We didn't. We didn't really have a competitive race on the ballot in most parts of the state. We had the president unopposed, we had Connell functionally unopposed. Most Republicans in the state didn't have anything else to vote for. There were primaries here and there in the state, but not many. So a lot of Republicans said, oh, we're not taking the trouble to deal with this. So we had a big drop off. We had about 80,000 or 90,000 absentee ballots requested and about 50,000, I think, returned because of that drop off. I don't think why there's big a drop off in the general, because there's no one who's looking at this balance and it's unimportant.
What was the voter turnout for the primary?
29% registered voters.
What are you expecting for?
72 is my current projection.
What about for the county? Do we know what the counties?
Your clerk would have a better projection.
I mean, it took all of 4 minutes to vote at the county. I mean, they were on, they did a really good job running. So almost everybody was voting in one place. But you were separated out early. And like I said, I don't know that it took the vote.
That's good. Am I doing that? Okay. Did you have a question, sir?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Thank you all so much for your attention. I hope I've answered your questions. If you have any more, call me. Any more, call us. Here's our number, 502-564-3490. Someone will take your question. Probably have to quit my license director, but I might take it, or my data secretary might take it. But let's all your questions. Thank you. We'll do it outside. Okay. Turn on slide. Okay.
We gotta get up before.
Okay. I don't know about you all, but there's no way I was gonna cut him off. He was so many questions that he answered. And he was up here for almost an hour, 55 minutes. So thank you to Michael, and we'll send him a little thank you note besides. Okay. Our other speaker has gone outside for a minute, but Bob Dye.
He just had to leave.
Oh, he said he had to leave at 8. So, Chris, do you know what he wanted to say? No, you don't know.
Yeah, nobody else knows.
What?
He has a lot to say though.
You said that, was not me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting for Rhonda to come back in, basically, I wanted to say to Blaine Anderson and to Jim Allen, thank you so much. Jim has got the pictures of the people on Zoom up here so we can feel like more of a family. So we're just trying to improve all the time. Now, I kept getting a text from someone on Zoom, and Michael was at least 10 minutes into his talk before they got the sound. And for all of you on Zoom, I apologize. Blaine worked with it and he finally got it working. But anyway, we're doing the best we can, everybody. And so, Blaine, do you want to say, Blaine has typed out his report, and he said, in order to save time, we can maybe attach it to the minutes. But Blaine, do you have something you want to?
Yeah, so if you didn't grab one off the table, grab one on your way out. I put together kind of a 2-pager. I'm going to go ahead and pull this down here. On some things I thought are very pertinent that you're probably talking about to your friends, your neighbors, you know, family members and whatnot. First part is about Supreme Court. How many have you not talked about the Supreme Court in the last, 2 or 3 days? I mean, it's a very important topic as to, is there going to be a nominee and is there going to be a vote and what's the historical precedent? So I gave you a little bit of the context of that, which a lot of it I took from Senator Cruz. So I think it's some very good information. When you hear your Democrat friends saying, oh gosh, this is terrible that the president's nominating someone, or oh gosh, it's terrible that a party, the Senate's going to vote. But historically it does. If it's a president and a Senate of the same party, historically there will be a vote. So some good information there. And then I put a nice little picture at the bottom of this thing, nice little snippet from Biden when he was the vice president, saying yes, there should always be a confirmation vote. I also, on the second page of it, I put some information about fundraising. You guys have heard me talk a lot about the dollars that are coming in. Up until July, President Trump had a pretty significant lead as far as dollars raised. Biden really cut into that in July and August. Biden and the ActBlue went crazy. $364.5 million raised in 1 month, in the month of August. Think of that. That is unbelievable numbers. Trump and Win Red raised 210 million. So, you know, the month of the conventions was a record, and it's unprecedented. So there's some information in there. And then this weekend, as soon as Ruth passed away, the Democrats went nuts raising money. So that's another thing. The other thing I put at the bottom of the page is, you know, I get into conversations about, you know, what's going to happen with the Senate. There's 35 Senate seats that are going to be voted on in November. Okay, 23 are Republican held, 12 are Democrats. So think of the numbers. We're defending 2/3 as many seats as the Democrats. That's already a challenge. There's 2 seats that, you know, if you look at any of the polls, they're confident we're going to lose. And that's McSally in Arizona. Every single poll shows her losing pretty significantly to her Democrat opponent, which is, you know, the former astronaut. And then Colorado, they think they're going to flip Colorado. There's 4 other seats that are in play. Some of these were names that I was surprised at. Ernst up in Iowa. They think that the Democrats feel confident they can flip that. They're pouring tens of millions of dollars into that race. Collins, all of us know she's not exactly a real strong conservative, but her seat is in play. They think they can flip Montana. That's been a real toss-up. And the last one is Tillis in North Carolina. The one that I think it's pretty assured that we're going to win is going to be Alabama. Alabama should never have voted Democrat last race, so Jones should lose. So if you have any Auburn fans, Tuberville should win that. So that was just some information, good takeaway. So I want you to do grab one of those on your way out, because especially regarding the Supreme Court. A couple other things that I put in there, one of which, can I go ahead, Mary, to forward to a request for an endorsement? Is it okay if I read that?
But we have to talk about
Okay.
one endorsement versus
Okay. We'll hold on
6
that.
endorsements.
All right. Last Monday, some of you may be surprised, I sat off in the weeds, if you will, and I attended the rally for Alexander Owensby. Yes, she was here in LaGrange. No one really knew about it, because if you read the Old America, 15 people showed up, of which most of them were the Democrat operatives, the people that were on her bus. I mean, maybe there was 2 or 3 people there that weren't part of the Democrat, you know, organization or whatever. She spoke for 10 minutes, and that was it. I mean, I sat off a ways. I didn't necessarily attend. I just wanted to kind of see what it was all about. So, you know, Massey is safe, bottom line.
She was doing that white supremacy, showing that white supremacy sign.
Oh, okay.
Maybe she knows how to say the pledge.
Last couple of things I have, I did get some more of the Trump magnetic bumper stickers. So if you folks are interested, catch me afterwards. If you folks out in Zoom land, if you'd like some, let me know. I got magnetic ones because, hey, for example, my daughter's borrowing my car tomorrow and going downtown Louisville. I do not want she has to for her nursing school. And she said, Dad, are those removable? I said, yes, they're magnetic. And I'm going, because I didn't want my car damaged. So if you're interested, it's great to drive around with, but like I say, if you're driving to Louisville, I wouldn't have them on my car per se. And then the last thing is, I do need a few volunteers to help me sometime in the next couple of weekends. I told Ken Fleming that we're going to try to knock on about 800 or 900 additional doors of less frequent Republican voters. So I've got his campaign materials with me, and I'd love to get a couple of people to help me knock that out sometime. Again, if we can get that done over the next 2 or 3 weekends, that'll be very helpful for Ken Fleming. And last thing, if anyone wants for a really good bid, I do have a Trump flag that I brought with me as well. So if you got a spot where you can hang a nice Trump flag and drive your neighbors crazy, let me know. I've got one that I brought with as well, and that's it.
Blaine?
Oh, I hear somebody. Yes, Kevin.
Yes, sir. What about Trump signs? What, where can we come up with some yard signs?
I'm going to turn the camera around, and here we go.
I have 200 ordered and they keep moving my date back. I'm supposed to have them September 29th. Tell me how many you want, Kevin. I'll write you down and make sure you get them.
Give me about 10.
You've got, they're $8 a piece.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
September 29th. That's after, Debbie, that's after the prayer.
I know it is.
Okay.
First was before that.
Okay, let me just say one thing about the magnetic Trump sign, which is on my car. I was out today and I was in my convertible and this enormous UPS truck backs up and he says, "I like your sign."
Zoomers on there.
Yeah, there you go. And it does. It doesn't stick on every car, but it sticks on that car. It's an old car.
Mary, I've been forwarding phone calls to you for people asking for signs.
I have about 25 to 30 requests.
Yeah, for some reason, Google or whatever, Alexa keeps sending
Send
them
it to
my
you.
phone number, and I give them your number, and so.
Okay.
Are you gonna have signs for them to sell? So I told somebody today, I don't think they're gonna have signs.
They come from
Order
me.
them from mom.
Where
The Trump signs come from me.
Debbie's ordering her personally.
All right, as long as you guys have some, I'll keep sending.
150 coming in.
Oh, is that all? Well, they're gonna be gone immediately. Well, that's
okay.
good.
I can order more and from
Okay.
another company that can send them faster.
Okay, guys, we're gonna go way past 8 o'clock. I'm sorry. Marissa. Youth chairman.
Oh,
hello. I have a couple of things, but I'll be brief so we can get to Rhonda. And I'm sorry for using my phone, but I want to make sure I get it correct. The first is our friend OJ Oleka threw a fundraiser for young Republicans to attend for Senator McConnell. This was last Thursday, I think. And he raised $25,000.
Wow.
And these were all, with one exception I know of, which was Courtney, people 40 and under. So that's really good. These are also updates on McConnell. His office is still looking for interns, high school age to early college. We were able to get him 4, thanks to Henry. He found 2 in Henry County that are volunteering in Oldham County. And then thanks to a friend at South, we found 2 that go to South Oldham High School that were able to volunteer. From this point on, if anybody knows anybody high school age who wants to volunteer for Senator McConnell's campaign, it is paid from now until election. The other update from McConnell's campaign is they are looking for poll watchers. Poll watchers will be asked to be at polling locations on election day toward the end of voting in order to report individual results right away as soon as they're posted. So if anybody is interested in becoming a poll watcher, let me know or let Mary know, and we'll get it to his campaign team. And the last update is on Rick Rash, who I think almost everybody here knows. If you don't know, at our last meeting, he was here with an eye swollen shut. He went to the doctor on Friday, an eye doctor, and was immediately sent to Norton Brownsboro, where they discovered he had a brain tumor. He had almost immediate surgery. And this is from his family. Rick is in the next phase of recovery. He's been sent to Fraser Rehab. He is doing well and looks forward to becoming active once again. He will keep everyone updated with updates on Facebook. His daughter is updating his page on there. So if you follow him or if you want to friend him, his daughter is going to post the updates. And he wanted to thank everyone for their prayers. If you want to do something for him, cards are appreciated, especially any with any type of humor. And if he is getting them all. He'll be home in a couple weeks, but if you need his address, just let me know and I'll get it to you.
Right now he's downtown Fraser.
Fraser Rehab.
Yeah. Very good.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna bounce around a little bit so that Rhonda can speak to us. She's running against Yarmouth and Jefferson County. And she'll tell you, I didn't know she was running until I saw a picture of her in the Courier Journal, which many people do not take. And I think she has a chance. I think this year is a great year that she'll have a chance, and she'll tell you more about herself. And so welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you all giving me this opportunity to come and visit with you all. Definitely, as my spokesperson says, how goes Louisville, goes the state. And Louisville affects all the counties around it. We're the economic engine of Kentucky. And it's very sad what's going on there. I was born and raised in Louisville, and I could never have believed it if you would have told me this was going to happen. I don't know how many of y'all have driven through downtown Louisville and seen all the boarded up buildings. I've been down there several times, and the disgusting things, that they have in Jefferson Park. I worked downtown for 20 some years, and it's just horrible. But anyway, I do believe, I just want to give you some encouragement and let you know how our campaign is going. We have a Facebook group called Take Back Louisville. And the guy that started that, Britt Parker, came up from Florida. We have 26,000 members that are behind us. We have the Cuban American group that are about 20,000 strong. They're supporting us. They're not as outspoken because they still have the mentality of being in a socialist country. They're like the silent Cubans, but they vote very conservative because they know what socialism and communism looks like. And we had dinner with some of the head of the group the other day, and I said, is it true that if you're in Cuba and you go out into the sea and you catch a lobster, catch a fish, and eat it, you can go to jail for that? 20 years. 20 years if you go catch your own fish. That's what some of our young people are trying to push us toward, socialism and communism. The deception is so rampant. So we have the Cuban Americans behind us. We have a lot of momentum. I've been talking to every church on Sunday, a different church every Sunday. We have rallies every Saturday in different parts of the county. We're going east, west, north, south. We have, we're working with the Tea Party, we're working with the Republican women, the Republican Party, just all of the conservative groups, Bob Hoagland's group out in the South. We've got, I even have a couple of retired gentlemen that got together and got me a couple billboards. I have so many volunteers. We're going to do a ground game. We plan on knocking on 50,000 doors during the month of October. So we really are doing it. Now, the problems I'm having is the media won't talk to me. They'll talk to me. They won't put me on TV. And we hadn't raised enough money as of July to get on the KET debates. So that's what he calls the debate tax. It's a debate tax. But anyway, I think everyone I've spoken with, and this is what I keep hearing, all of my family, they're like, my sister-in-law is a surgeon. She said, everybody that comes in, they say they're Democrat, but they are so fed up with what's going on in Louisville, they're going to vote for Trump. They're going to vote Republican. And when we've called, I've been at the Republican headquarters in Jefferson County. When we've called, people often are saying, no, we're just pulling the straight Republican ticket. So if ever in history, in the lessons and north of, we have a chance, it's this time. And we are getting out. We will talk to any groups. If every one of you talk to one person or two people in Jefferson County and get them to encourage other people to get out the vote, all I need with our estimates are approximately 175,000 to 200,000 votes. We've calculated and done some analysis, and we have 187,000 registered Republicans. So if we can get all the Republicans out, and then, we get the swing voters of the Democrats who are definitely not, they're so fed up with Fisher and Bashir and Yarmouth that they can't see straight. So we've got a lot of support, and I'm very, very encouraged. We will work as hard as we can. If any of you know anyone in Jefferson County that has a group that would like me to come speak, I would be happy to introduce myself and speak to them. So just let me know. And does anyone have any questions? Wish I was running in Oldham County.
What do you need to get on the KPT? Too late or?
It's too late. It's too late. We do, if any of you all are familiar with or friends with anybody who's a big donor, we have a videographer. The Cuban Americans are paying for a commercial. I don't know if any of you all have seen Kim Klasick's commercial. It's wonderful. And she even has a part 2 commercial. We're going to go in the West End and do that. I love the concept. You know, I'm not going to be walking in a red dress, but the concept and the high heels, I'm trying to kill myself. The concept is spectacular. How she says, this is my plan. She's got a new one out. This is my plan. Because I actually do have a plan to help reform some of the neighborhoods in West Louisville, which the Democrats always promise, but they never do anything.
Rhonda, I do have a question. With all the protests, and we'll call them rioters or protesters that turn into rioters that are going to get started, and all that happened in Louisville. I mean, it's become a battleground. They've got now between, I don't know which street is, maybe it's 2nd Street, all the way down Broadway to 8th Street, almost to 9th. The big block is cordoned off. You know, the national media is on. We saw that last night. They called up the National Guard today at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. So I expect the meeting, the results of the investigation of what happened several months ago to be released tomorrow. So my question is where's John?
He's hiding in the basement with his wife.
So this is because the seat you're running for is the 3rd Congressional District, which is essentially, we call it Louisville, but it's entirely Jefferson County.
Yes.
So that's the district that you're running for. But how can you, as in the House, help Louisville?
Well, as you know, when you're an elected official, you can speak for the people. You can also use that, some call it a bully pulpit, or the sphere of influence, to gather other people, to gather the contacts that you have, you know, being born and raised in Louisville and going to University of Louisville, graduating from there. I reached out to a friend who happens to be an expert in community planning. He's an architect, you know, and he would love to get on board with that. There's just, people want to have leadership. People want to participate and to create, especially people in Louisville. People in Louisville are wonderfully friendly, hospitable. It's like a big, small town. At least it has been before in all of my life. So people want to create wonderful projects and benefit other people. So they just need a little leadership, and we have not had any leadership in the past 14 years, none. I will say something, and then we'll get to, yes, the Kentucky National Guard has been called up. We know that for a fact today. The Indiana National Guard is on alert. We saw parades of Homeland Security police vehicles. And now this is hearsay, but I have heard that the federal SWAT teams have taken over the Citizens Plaza building, that we have federal SWAT teams there and that have been here anticipating the release of the findings of the grand jury. So we're, you know, the police are on alert. Of course, LMPD had a notice that nobody can take a day off, nobody can take vacation time until further notice. So we're all waiting with bated breath, and everybody's calling me, do I have to avoid downtown? Well, of course I would. Right now, I wouldn't go down there unless, you know, it was mandatory.
Just say go to the hospital, maybe.
Right, unless I have to go to the hospital.
There's something to ease down.
Exactly, or avoid it.
I've heard that Yarmouth has never sponsored a bill that's passed. Is
That's
that true?
You know what? In my research, that's what I've heard too. No one can show a bill. He just, you know, he was born with a silver spoon. I will tell you about me. I'm a working girl. My dad was working, you know, he is the son of an immigrant from Italy, and they had nothing. He's worked all his life. If I wanted to have money for anything, I've been working since I was 12 years old at the Haymarket. And then, you know, went to school, graduated at age 16 from high school, and put myself through college. So that's, you know, I've worked my whole life. I was an investment advisor for about 25 years, and now, and had my own firm, and now I have my own real estate firm, work with my dad, who's 84.
So this is Bill over here
You
on.
can find out anything about me on Rhonda Palazzo for Congress.com.
Rhonda, we've got Bill Furco. It sounds like, Bill, you got a question?
Yeah, well, I just have a comment, Rhonda, and thank you for stepping up. I really appreciate that. I don't know if you can hear me, but to pick up on your comments from your Cuban friends and to pick up on your life of working. I have a friend who grew up and immigrated here from Russia, and she pointed out in Russia, there is no unemployment. There is no such thing as unemployment in Russia, in a communist country. You get a job. You may not like the job that they give you, but everybody has a job. You're either digging ditches or you go to a labor camp, but there is no unemployment in a communist country. And if that's what our children want, I don't think they really know what they want when they're, if they really understand how the system works.
I agree with you 100%. And I suppose that we're responsible. We have allowed the school system, public school system, and the colleges to absolutely brainwash our children with propaganda, with socialism. I mean, they don't even teach government anymore. The lack of knowledge about our government and how it works, and even who's in office astounds me. I always had civic and government class, but I'm 58 years old. I think a lot of y'all are probably in my, age bracket. So we were trained pretty well, but not anymore. But I want to change that. I'm a big proponent of education, of private education, I don't know if y'all know or familiar with President Trump's initiative. He wants to create the tax credit scholarship programs where businessmen can opt to, instead of paying federal tax, get a tax credit for contributing money to a plan that pays scholarships for private high schools, private grade schools, even can go to church-oriented schools like a Catholic school or a private Christian school. That's where I think we need to emphasize, work toward also vocational schools, more charter schools. One size does not fit all. And that's, unfortunately, our school system, not your alls, you all have a better one, but in Jefferson County, our school system has failed. Failed a lot of our students.
Yeah, I mean,
There's no other
they
question.
showed my daughter's class a video on mistakes in the Bible and things that were wrong in the Bible and whatnot in her class. I just found out about it last week, last year when she was at Old and Middle. Yeah.
Oh my God.
She was in 6th grade last year. We have these conversations around the house, and I'm a big believer in trying to have educations at home and whatnot, but people don't understand the basics of economics. When Yarmouth was first elected, he said, I'm going to go in there and have them repeal the tax credits that the oil companies get, that these billion-dollar oil companies get. Has no understanding of the fact that if you increase the cost of business on a business, their only option is to raise the price of the product that they provide.
Pass it down.
That's their only option. It's not like some guy's going to go, oh, okay, well, let me write a bigger check. It just comes out of our pockets. And nobody seems to be getting that point across, that corporate taxes are not paid by corporations, they're paid by the end users.
You know what? This is just an interesting statistic. When I was contemplating running for office, I thought, I literally felt called to do it. I thought, I'm not qualified. I'm not an attorney. And I said, okay, I just felt led to, I looked at the last Congress and found out what percentage have accounting degrees. I have an accounting degree in, of course, finance, and 25 years of experience. And I was an investment advisor and had 3 principal licenses and had my own investment company. So what percent of 435 people in our Congress do you all think have an accounting degree? How many would you think?
Less than 5.
Less than 5, you're right. And finance, so there's a gross lack of financial and accounting background. And then I thought, okay, I have a real estate firm. I do commercial and and residential, mostly residential. I said, how many people have real estate experience, investment or otherwise? That was a little bit more. There was like 10 or 14. That's less than 2%. And so I realized that I have skills and knowledge that is desperately needed. I mean, but they're mostly government workers or lawyers. No wonder they can't balance the budget. So anyway, I think it's going to be, oh, I'm sorry.
John has one question.
Okay.
It's not a question, a statement rather, that the Louisville Tea Party would be glad to work with you. And
Yes, local Tea Party, I've spoken to them. I just spoke to them, in fact, last Thursday. I love it.
Okay, great.
Okay. Very good. I work with Risa. So thank you all for having me.
One thing that we need to do is to approve our August minutes. Jim, let's see, I mailed out the August minutes. Would anybody like me to read the minutes?
No. Move to approve.
All right. We have
I'm not an officer, so.
no, I'm pointing.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So
that's
Jim?
Jim Collenberg.
Yeah, Collenberg. Move to approve. Second?
Well, you already did.
We did. Blaine. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All opposed.
Yeah, oh, thank you. I was thinking,
Yeah,
all opposed. All opposed.
Yeah,
No, okay, no opposed. All right, next, Robert has our treasurer's report.
There's a brief report. If they can hear me, I can do it like this.
Okay, great.
The bank balance per the bank right now is $5,000 in the checking account, $5,574.94. There are 2 checks outstanding. It seems that the check that we wrote for the Trump campaign and the McConnell campaign either got lost in the mail or somebody did something else with it. We're still waiting for those to be cashed. It's been, what, 45 days now, more than that, 50 days. But with taking those 2 checks out, that leaves us a checking account balance of $4,907.94. The income tax checkoff account is $125. This says that the total funds available, $5,032.94. I would like to very quickly thank Marissa for her efforts in getting people to cough up a few bucks for the buttons that we had. She's done an excellent job of getting rid of those the buttons that I had. So thank you very much.
Okay. Robert always has his books open for anybody to look at in detail. And so with that, I will just ask for a motion to approve. Okay, Tim Collenberg again.
Sherry Broker seconds.
Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passed. Shari Broker, do you have any?
No report.
No report for precinct officers. The GOTV, I had to ask what GOTV meant. Get out the vote. I'll never forget that. There might be 6 counties that get together at the Shelby County Fairgrounds on, they call it high noon on Saturday, October 24th. One thing that they are asking for help on is decorations. So if you have any of those red, white, and blue swags or flags or anything, let me know and we can kind of pool our resources from the 4 to 6 counties and decorate for that day. I'll have more information later on who's going to be speaking. One of the interesting people that's been asked is Mr. Sandman.
Oh, really?
What's his first name?
Nicholas.
Nick Sandman. Wouldn't it be great if he could come?
Wow.
So just to update you on the amount of money that we have personally just donated, since we can't really give it from our treasurers to the Jefferson County College Republicans, is $210. We got some more money last month. So if anybody wants to donate to them, since we are really focusing on our youth, give it to me or to Robert and we'll mail it in to them. Does anybody have any other old business, unfinished business they'd like to bring up?
Mary, I just have one question. Last week or last month, we were talking about having a tri-county.
That's it.
And then is this
That's it.
instead of 6 county replacing the tri-county?
Right. Yeah.
We
met. Actually, we met at the Osborne Barn, but we decided to go to the Shelby County Fairgrounds.
Okay.
So for new business, we have set a date for our Lincoln Day dinner in February. Marissa's going to be the chair, and she's gotten some young. You're still here? You want to tell us?
There's not really much of an update. Let me move, Blaine, I'll move. We've set a date of February 20th, and we have a committee, but that's all that's happened so far. We're looking for a venue, hopefully something new and fun, but if not, we can always fall back to the John Black Center. If you have any ideas or if you want to get involved, we're open. We're hoping to make it a little bit different in hopes of attracting some younger people. So we'll see.
Well, our committee thus far is made up of young people, and I commend you for that. We went ahead and set, because you know we're not meeting in November and December. So we went ahead and set the date for our reorg. And actually, JD and Phil did such a great job 4 years ago at Inspirational Grounds. They've already said we could meet there again. And we set the date for March 20th, with the following Saturday as being the date if there's inclement weather. Now then, did we finish talking about endorsements?
No.
Okay, why don't you take care of that, Blaine?
Okay. One of the things that the board kind of had a discussion about was in regards to endorsements. And part of this reason this came up is, obviously we're going to endorse our candidates that affect us here locally. Whether that's Trump, McConnell, Massey, etc. But we also have a congressional candidate that's visiting with us here today. And so I would like to, with approval of the group here, talk about making an additional endorsement of Rhonda's campaign. So in the notes that I had put together, and this is for our secretary as well, because every time you make any sort of a motion or whatever, it's like we have to reread it a couple of times. But what I had put together was basically, it says, as a show of support to our friends from Jefferson County and Republican 3rd District Congressional candidate Rhonda Palazzo. Am I saying that correct?
Correct.
All right, good. The officers, precinct captains, co-captains, and youth chairs formally endorse Ms. Palazzo's candidacy and encourage all Oldham County residents to do the same, whether this is by financial contribution or giving of your time or talents to her campaign.
Blaine, I'll make that motion. This is Hawkins on video.
Okay, we have a motion. Stephanie Hawkins.
Who moved it?
Stephanie Hawkins.
Yeah, okay. Who seconded?
Deborah Graham.
Okay. Any comments? No? Well, then we'll.
Well, I have a comment.
Go ahead, Bill.
Our presence in Jefferson County is extremely important, as evidenced by my election, where we were basically undone by, the Democratic surge during the primary for Booker and McGrath. So I really encourage us to support the Republicans in Jefferson County and to support her campaign to the extent we possibly can. It's extremely important for us to retake our Senate seat that we lost in June, to get Republican representation for Oldham as well as Jefferson County.
Okay, thank you for the comments, Bill. All right, I think I heard someone call the question. So if that's all right, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Rhonda, we fully endorse your campaign.
Thank Rhonda, will you leave your address with Jim? And we'll put it in the minutes, so if anybody wants to send you a little cash, they can do that. Okay, great. Any other new business that anybody would like to bring up?
I don't know if this is new, but we're gonna have a prayer visual.
Well, that's what you're about to talk about.
Okay, that's what I'm about to talk about.
You're calling on you now.
Okay. We cannot, at this point, do a breakfast because of COVID-19. And so we are going to have a prayer vigil. It's at 9 o'clock. It is Saturday, September 26th. That is this Saturday at Inspirational Grounds. You're all invited. There will be coffee available. That's all there will be there. We have I'm asking some new people to come and pray. And I really think that like I said in our prayer, this country needs prayer. We really need to get together and pray and help us make these decisions. So we'd like for you to come out, and if you all would like to walk with someone afterwards, we're going to have some candidates there that you could possibly walk with if you want to. And we're inviting everybody. It's going to be free. We're going to take donations for only the church. Dr. Gary has supported the Republican Party in a big way. So anything we get as donations will go directly to the church. Just to let you know that. We used to do a breakfast, and we always did it the Monday before the election because everybody voted on election day. But now that we have this interesting new way to vote, they told me at the Secretary of State's office that if I had it the 26th, it should be before most people vote. So please come out and see us at 9 o'clock. It only lasts an hour, so you don't lose your whole Saturday. We do have the Trump signs. Like I said, we have 150 coming. I hope we sell those out quickly. We have already sold 100 for the Women's Club. Henry County has sold 200. And so they're ordering another 50 and we're getting another 150. We can't do anything as far as giving money to any federal office at all. So I have some Massey signs and I have availability to be able to get as many Massey signs as you want. So that also needs to be done, and I'm working with somebody with Mitch's campaign trying to see if we can't get some signs for him. Let's blanket this place. I'm seeing some Democratic signs out.
Yes.
So the Trump signs are $8. We don't make money on that. All we do is buy more signs. That's all we're doing with it. So please call me, text me. As soon as they come in, I will get them to you.
You'll have Mitch and Massey signs.
I have Massey signs that are free, and I'm going to see if I can get Mitch something. I've called them a couple of times.
If you get them tonight, I'll take them tonight. Otherwise, I'll get them Saturday.
Okay, Saturday I'll bring them. The other signs.
On the point of signs, real quickly, Pee Wee Valley and Crestwood, a lot of my opponent signs are going up. They're going in just regular Democrat yards with Black Lives Matter signs and McGrath's and whoever's running for president on the other side. But so he can't remember it, so I can't hear it. Sorry. That was a little bit. But anyway, so I have signs if anybody needs them in Crestwood or Pee Wee Valley. I appreciate it. I'll come and put them in the yard and take them out the next day. So
you'll bring some Saturday.
That's right. I will. We have plenty of signs. We got plenty of good locations. We need you more. So thank you guys.
Mary can.
Okay, there's one other thing about the prayer vigil. That is also the National Day of Prayer. They're going to be praying in Frankfurt. Somebody help me that's maybe read it. It's 12 o'clock, because I thought I could maybe do both. On the steps in Frankfurt and also in Washington DC, they're going to be praying all day. So it's the National Day of Prayer. What's that? Oh, Shari, do you have something for Rock?
Rock meets on the third Tuesday, 6 o'clock. This time we're gonna meet at Ernesto's, and Kevin Woosley of our school board will be there to talk. I mean, it should be a little interesting because, they've got that new,
AB.
What?
AB schedule?
Well, they've got the AB schedule. That's fine. Oldham, I was actually pretty proud of them for going back earlier than everyone else said, but they're proposing a new property tax. So it should be interesting to see the fallout from that. So we have his undivided attention. Might be interesting.
Thursday, 6:30 is the vote at the Arvin Center, or the meeting at the Arvin Center for the school boards.
Are you gonna be there, Blaine?
I plan to.
You pro or con?
I will let you know after the meeting.
It was like the last one, let me tell you.
Okay, I listed in the agenda the programs for KET, when they're going to have Trump and Biden, when they're going to have Pence and Harris. And tonight at 9 o'clock, they're doing something called a choice between Biden and Trump. Actually, I tried to watch KET during the convention, and frankly, I wasn't real thrilled. But I'd like to see what they're going to do tonight. If I get home by 9 o'clock, let me see. This is something David Osborne, the Chamber of Commerce has David Osborne coming in. It's going to be an early meeting at 8:30 a.m. at the John Black Center. If you're a member of the chamber, it's free. If you're not a member and want to go, it's $10. But do RSVP. I don't know why they asked to RSVP. What day is it? It's October 14th. I think we're real lucky to have him do that. Jason, do you have any, I have your name down for you to say more than what you just did.
It's late, unless anybody has any questions.
No, okay.
I would make one comment on his behalf. You could use some more folks doing the red 3 dial.
Yeah, no doubt.
So.
And the voters that we're calling, I called 250 voters today. And the voters that we're calling are people who've requested ballots. So we get to talk to people who we know, pretty good chance they're going to vote. So, and if they don't answer, most people don't answer, 80% don't, then I've got a pre-recorded voicemail that goes to them, so that's just as beneficial. It's as easy as can be.
So if you can spend 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 1 day a week, 2 days a week, it's very helpful. We did that for Bill Furco's campaign. Easy way to, be at home. And as Jason said, you're not going to talk to the majority of the people. But just getting that campaign message out there can be very, very helpful to make sure we get the votes for Jason and get him reelected.
So we'll put your telephone number in the minutes so that if people don't know how to get on your red 3,
they can text you. Call or text.
Okay, good. Ken Fleming is probably out working.
Yeah, he had 2 conflicting meetings tonight.
Yeah, Bob Dow wanted to speak before 8 o'clock, but Michael didn't leave till 8 o'clock. And so, Chris, do you have anything to say?
Just, we're pretty lucky in Oldham County with what's going on, just on the other side of the border. Just keep the members of law enforcement in your thoughts and prayers. No one knows what's going to happen over the next couple of days, but something's going to happen. And I can tell you that the Oldham County government, the police department, Chief Smith and that does have a plan put together, and we'll all sit back and wait. If anybody's got any questions, feel free. You can call or email me anytime. Thanks.
Your number.
502-643-6724. And the best email is chris@chrishounds.com. It's the easiest one I've got.
Okay, Chris, thank you.
Yep.
And thank you for what you're doing. I had a call from Albert Harrison. He wanted to speak tonight, but he had to get a sister home. He said between 6 and 8 from the hospital, and we all know that it probably is going to be midnight. I told him to be patient. He said, who, me? Anyway, he wants to announce now that he has decided to run for county judge. So he wanted us to know that. And on the agenda, which if you did not get it, just contact me and I'll send you the dates. I have them down from September through March. March includes our reorg date. And so does anybody have another comment that they'd like to make tonight? I thank you all for coming in person, and I can't wait to find out how many of you joined on Zoom. I think we're going to be doing this for a while, but so hopefully we'll get better and better. And I'd like to hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, you got beat out. You want to say?
I'll second.
All right.
Second.
Shelley made the motion, and we're on 6
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Glenn.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
How you doing? Congratulations on your win. Now, who's keeping an eye on who?
I'm doing. You all took the other minute.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Hey, congratulations to you guys. I didn't say it,